Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, join us to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And joining me today is, of course, the one and the only, the magnificent, the master of fun and wonder, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Man, you know, if I had a major multinational corporation and I needed to come up with a catchphrase, John, I would come to you and I'd be making millions by now. Because, man, that has stuck in just a mere few days.
Master of fun and wonder. Someone's got to draw something about that. And also joining us, of course, is the one and the only Miss Chris Carr is here. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here today.
And your car didn't run out of gas on the way here today like Aaron's did yesterday?
No. My whole 15-minute drive was smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing. Well, listen, talking about smooth sailing, we got to sail today because we've got a hell of a lot of things have come up for us to talk about. Before we get to any of those things, guys, I want to remind you some of the things you can do for the John Campea Show and for the channel. First of all, if you haven't done so already, why haven't you? Take a second, go ahead and click that subscribe button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Also, if you enjoy these types of discussions and videos, make sure you click the thumbs up button. Go ahead and do that right now. And make sure you leave a comment below to keep the conversation going. Or if you want to make sure that your comment or question gets read on air, go ahead and use the super chat feature. It's a great way to make sure your comment or question gets read on a video, but also it's a great way to support the channel as well. And we thank all of you who take advantage of that. All right, we got a bunch of things to go into off the top. And the first thing we're going to go off the top with this. We've known for a while that there is a new movie coming out called Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, Brie Larson, and it sounds great. The first trailer for the movie, though, has now come out. The first trailer is out. I believe it dropped this morning. And I'm telling you what, it delivers on what the synopsis suggested we could be getting. It has a great feel to it. A little bit less visceral, but I got a little bit of a Mississippi Burning kind of vibe from it a little bit. The performances look fantastic. For those of you who don't know much about the story, you haven't heard about it yet, here's the basic read on the synopsis for this one. A powerful and thought-provoking true story. Just Mercy follows young lawyer Brian Stevenson, played by Michael B. Jordan, and his history-making battle for justice. After graduating from Harvard, Brian had his pick of lucrative jobs. Instead, he heads to Alabama to defend those wrongly condemned or who were not afforded proper representation with the support of local advocate Eva Ansley, played by Brie Larson. One of his first and most incendiary cases is that of Walter McMillan, played by Jamie Foxx, who in 1987 was sentenced to die for the notorious murder of an 18-year-old girl despite a preponderance of evidence proving his innocence, and the fact that the only testimony against him came from a criminal with a motive to lie. Rob, I saw this. Best trailer of the year? No, but a trailer that fulfills on the promise of what something like this could look like. This looks fantastic. It's now completely near the top of my radar. I can't wait to see this. What did you think about the trailer?
Oh, I love these kinds of stories. I mean, I love stories about lawyers going in to defend either innocent people or underdogs. And first of all, great cast.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a comic book movie fan, you've got Electro. Electro's the villain. You know, you got Killmonger defending him and Captain Marvel giving an able assist. So, and also it's being directed by it was directed by the director of the upcoming Shang-Chi. So anybody who's interested in comic book movies should look at this. It looks like it's a great story, beautifully acted, beautifully made. I can't wait. I love stories like this.
Chris, you had a chance to watch this trailer just this morning. What did you think about it?
Oh, it looks like it's going to be a very powerful film. Like Rob was saying, amazing cast, really, really strong performers here. And what a story. I mean, something that you can really, really sink your teeth into that's going to be probably hard to watch and really, really moving. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for these true story.
Yeah.
Kind of, those are the ones that are extra powerful for me, so I'm really looking forward to that. Question is, guys, what did you think about the trailer for Just Mercy? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, let's jump to this next off-the-top topic here, and that is this. Spider-Man Far From Home. We've been talking a lot about it recently for a lot of unfortunate reasons. Not because it's a great movie, but because of the Disney and Sony fiasco going on, and then because of the re-release nonsense doing it. But we've forgotten about the movie itself, and the movie was actually pretty damn good. And now on September 17th, the live streaming, the streaming of it comes in, and then I believe on October 1st, the Blu-ray and DVD comes out for that. Now, they have released all the special features that are going to be on this, depending on where you get your stream from that or on your Blu-ray and DVDs. And some of those features include now we've known about this one for a while, the original short Peter's To-Do List. They've talked about that for a while. They also get Mr. Harrington and Mr. Dell to do teachers travel tips. That's going to be a little special features just for that. A feature called Stepping Up, exploring how Spider-Man was introduced into the MCU and how he leaves it. The way Tom Holland transforms the character of Peter Parker, on and on. Far, Far From Home, talking about the different locations they went to do this movie. It Takes Two, a special look at the chemistry between John Watts, that's the director, and Tom Holland. A little special on Nick Fury and Maria Hill. The Ginter Riva Effect, a look at the villain subplot and how William Ginter Riva ties Spider-Man Far From Home all the way back to that very first Iron Man movie. Thank You, Mrs. Parker, a look at Marissa Tomei's turn as Aunt May. Then Brothers Trump's Jumping Off, Now You See Me, stuff like a lot of stuff, including gag reels, outtakes, and alternate endings, alternate scenes, and things like that. It looks to be, Rob, when you look at it, it looks to be a pretty rich, feature-packed kind of home video offering. I like it when home video does stuff like this. I think it looks really good. Now, as the resident connoisseur of all things Blu-ray and home video, how do you think Spider-Man Far From Home is stacking up?
Well, I like seeing, look, as somebody who made special features for a long time, I like seeing studios spend money and getting these kinds of special features. I hope they're more than just like 2-minute quick bites. I hope they really delve into what went on. It really depends on...
I heard that altogether they come into like over an hour worth of content.
Well, that's good. I mean, there's a lot of bullet points there. I miss the days when we could take these deep dives into movies and the studio spent money to have people on set and follow the production. But something like this is encouraging. I mean, I've already pre-ordered the disc, so I can't wait to get the 4K. Yeah. Bring it on, John.
Yeah, I'm thinking this looks really good, actually. I think you got a good amount of stuff. Now, the one thing I don't think I saw there was director's commentary, but I'm sure they'll put that in. Because that's always my favorite feature on these things, is hearing from the directors themselves. So I do hope that's part of it. But even without it, it looks like a pretty solid offering so far. Question is, guys, what do you think about the list of features that we're going to get on this Spider-Man Far From Home video release? I think it's looking pretty good. Do you think it's maybe looking a little bit wanting? Were you looking for a little bit more? Or do you not care about the feature stuff? You just want to see the movie itself? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move to a third off-the-top topic, which, sticking on the theme of trailers, which we talked about with Just Mercy a little bit ago, another movie that's been coming out. It's going to be a Netflix original. We haven't talked a lot about it except for when it's first announced, and it's always been one that seemed a little odd to me, but is a film version of Zach Galifianakis' Between Two Ferns. And now a trailer for Between Two Ferns has dropped. All right, let me tell you this. I love the Between Two Ferns web stuff. I love it. I get a huge kick out of it. The Bruce Willis one might be the funniest one out of all of them. The Hillary Clinton one was hilarious. They do a bunch of them and they're great. I was thinking, how do you do a movie about this? And I'm not really sure. And today we got our first taste of that as they dropped the trailer for Between Two Ferns. And I'm hearing a lot of people are very excited about it. I'll say this, though. I think everything in this trailer that had to do with Between Two Ferns, when he's on stage interviewing a celebrity, the Brie Larson one. I heard you're a very private person. You don't like being asked questions that make you uncomfortable. So why is that? And how old were you when you had your first period? It's like, what? It's fantastic. But everything else in the trailer outside of Between Two Ferns, I'll be honest with you. I love Zach Galifianakis. I love this concept. But everything else that didn't have to do with In Between Two Ferns, I was like, I don't. I hope that this is a movie that's 100 minutes or let's say 80 minutes of interviews and 10 minutes of filler on the road stuff, because I'll be honest with you, none of the rest of it interested me except for that stuff. So I don't know. Is it just me, Rob? What did you think about the trailer?
Well, first of all, I mean, I look at it, the premise, being able to do a movie like this that isn't going to cost a lot of money.
True.
And you just call up your friends and you go, hey, would you like to come in for half a day and do a, Between Two Ferns thing? I think from a conceptual and a producing standpoint, I admire what they're doing. Whether the filler stuff works, the road trip stuff, I mean, I like road trip movies. That remains to be seen. Maybe that's why Netflix picked it up. It certainly got a lot of star power in it. I don't know. I mean, Between Two Ferns is, I think, an idea that's sort of wore thin for me. I mean, once you've seen one, it kind of, you get it. But it's, look, I love the fact that somebody gets something like this made. It gives me hope, John. And I will be tuning in.
I mean, I got to admit, I'm going to be watching it too. But anyway, Chris, you just watched it for the first time yourself. What were your impressions of it?
I am so in, you guys. The road trip part looks fun. What are you talking about? The line that killed me the most was have you ever seen a chicken strip? I've never even seen chicken wear clothes. Like that. That's great. I'm so excited. Chrissy Teigen hooking up with Galifianakis? Come on.
Okay. I'll give you that one. I will give you that one. That was, where's John Legend? He's probably at home polishing his EGOT.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I will give you that one.
I
That
think
was
it's going to
funny.
be super fun.
All right, guys. Well, the question here is, did you guys have a chance to see the Between Two Ferns trailer? I mean, I still don't know what to think about it. We got Chris is totally on board with it. Rob's on board. What do you guys think about it right now? Jump down to the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, one more off the top to get to here before we get into our main topics today. You know, in the grand history, the long celebrated history of video game movies, we know they all suck. I mean, there are, three laws in life, right? 3 laws in life: death, taxes, and video game movies will suck. I mean, that's what they do. Oddly enough, this little film that came out, Tomb Raider, I actually believe, with Alicia Vikander, I think it's the best the best video game movie ever made, and that's not saying much. I don't even think this movie is great. But I think probably it's the best video game movie I've ever seen. My favorite is still Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's still my favorite. That movie's horrible, but I love it. It's got a very precious place in my heart. But I actually thought this was the best video game adaptation we'd ever seen. I think it's pretty solid. It's fun. The action is good. Obviously, I love Alicia Vikander. Walton Goggins was the villain in it. Always loved seeing him. Was it a perfect movie? No. Was it a great movie? No. But I thought it was a good little movie. But it didn't do great financially. I think it made like $275 million worldwide, which I think put it out at close to breaking even, but it clearly was not a hit by any stretch of the imagination. I had my doubts they were going to come back and do another one, which I think is a shame. But today, we found out, don't worry, kiddies, it's coming back. This morning, it's been officially announced that they have actually officially announced that they've got a new director, Ben Wheatley, I should say, who directed Kill List and Free Fire. He is officially coming on to direct it, and they've even set a release date for it, and it's going to be released March 19th, 2021, less than 2 years from now. Less than 2 years from now, that one's going to be coming back out into theaters. Guys, I'm going to tell you what. I mean, again, the first Tomb Raider, not super celebrated. Sorry, this first Tomb Raider, there was obviously other Tomb Raiders. This first Tomb Raider, not a critical darling per se, not a huge box office hit, but I liked it, and it was the first video game adapted movie to me that said there is hope for this genre. I, for one, am actually pretty happy that we're going to see another one made. Chris, you're hearing about this happening. Is this a good idea, or maybe in light of the fact that the first one wasn't a critical darling and didn't make that much money, is it too much of a gamble?
I think this is a great idea. You know, it's this last movie, was based on that awesome PS4 2013 game, which was one of the best Tomb Raider games out there. The sequel's super, super fun too, so hopefully the movie's going to be more of that. I really like this version of Lara. I really am excited to watch more of it. I enjoy it a lot.
Rob, at this point, there are some business arguments to be made against maybe this isn't a wise idea, but maybe there's some pros. Where do you come down on this?
Well, Ben Wheatley's a really interesting director, and I'm sure this is his way. He wants to step up, but Kill List, he made a movie called High Rise that's based on a J.G. Ballard book.
Oh, I never saw that one.
It's... You should see it. It's really interesting, and
I like Free Fire though.
And Free Fire was a lot of fun, and I think he's a good choice for this. I think he's going to really put his all into it, and why not? Alicia Vikander. Anytime you can see more of her in a short pair of shorts.
By the way, did you guys ever see?
You know when her shorts show you more of her talent, Rob? Gosh, she's an Academy Award nominee.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I can see her in those Academy Award Oscar bait movies, or I can see her running around dressed as Lara Croft.
But that's her, right? She can do it all. That's one thing that makes her so great. But did you guys ever see if you haven't, I highly recommend you looking it up. The behind the scenes videos of her training regimen to get in. and they're showing her with their trainer. There are muscles in her back I did not know existed in the human anatomy.
She was
intense.
she was ripped. I mean,
she got herself into great shape for that.
I think she has to be honest, a great physicality. I like her in the role of Lara Croft. I mean, I think she really inhabited that role. I liked her in the film. I thought, if anything else, I did like you. I didn't love the new Tomb Raider, but I liked it.
Yeah.
And I thought
and that's saying a lot for video game movies these days.
and I thought her presence added a lot to the credibility of that film.
And McNulty from The Wire is her dad, which I thought was a great addition. On top of that, Walton Goggins. Anyway, question here is, guys, what do you think about this? Are you kind of like, I don't really care if they do another one? Or are you like me? It's like, no, we need to build on what has one of the few things that has worked in video game movie adaptations at this point. But what are your thoughts on this right now? They just announced they're officially doing it, coming in less than 2 years. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know what you think. All right, guys. With all those off the tops out of the way, let's now move in and start talking about our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with our main topics by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's now move on to our first main topic today. Chris, what is our first main topic today?
The first topic is coming from Kevin W. Crutchfield. Hey, John and crew. The Suicide Squad will reportedly get its first table read next week, and another member of the cast may be locked in. According to Deadline, Oscar winner and former Doctor Who star Peter Capaldi is the latest addition to the Suicide Squad. However, there are no details about which character Capaldi will play. John, who do you think he's going to play? Who do you think he's going to be, if he's even locked into this?
Look, I got to be honest with you. I don't know anything about Peter Capaldi. I know he was Doctor Who, but too much to my friend's chagrin, I don't watch much Doctor Who.
Actually, John, it's the Doctor, not Doctor Who. Excuse
me. Apologize.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, the Doctor. I don't know much about the Doctor. Other than the fact that when I was a little kid, I watched some of it when it was the dude who had the scarf and the big hat.
Tom Baker.
Tom Baker,
yeah. I watched a little bit of Tom Baker's when I was in. That's why I know who the Daleks are, but that's about it. Now, I remember people saying, wait, Oscar winner? I don't remember him winning an Oscar. Then I looked up, it's like he won an Oscar because he directed and produced a short film. So he won an Oscar for a short film once, which is no small feat, don't get me wrong. So for those of you wondering, wait, so what's going on here? What's this about him being in Suicide Squad? This is the report that came out at Deadline. They were the first ones to break this. They were Doctor Who actor, 1995 Oscar winner Peter Capaldi is boarding James Gunn's The Suicide Squad at Warner Brothers. We also hear that Saturday Night Live's Pete Davidson has been in talks for a small cameo in the pick, and that there's a chance he'll do it during the breaks from SNL. Who cares? That deal is still coming together. Word is that there's a table reading for the DC sequel on September 11th, with production starting 12 days later at Pinewood Studios in Atlanta for an August 6, 2021 release date. So look, the big thing to me, because I really don't know much about this performer and his background and stuff like that, I don't have an awful lot to contribute to as far as ideas about whether this is a good ad or not. What I do think this does is speak a lot to James Gunn, because James Gunn, first and foremost, he is a ludicrously huge fanboy. He loves all the genre stuff, and I think the addition of a guy who was the Doctor, I almost said Doctor Who again. I'm sorry. The guy who played the Doctor, it just kind of speaks, I think, a lot to James Gunn and the things that he loves, and the fact that he takes so much joy making these movies. He can add people like this to it, which I think sounds like a lot of fun. But again, I can't speak to it from a Doctor Who perspective because I don't know much about it myself. Rob, what do you think about the addition of this guy? And do you have any sort of theories at this point as to who he might play?
I think he's playing the villain. I mean, one of my favorite things of the last 20 years that's been on television is the Torchwood season 3. It was only 5 episodes long. It's called Children of Earth. It's a miniseries. It is, if you like science fiction and I'd never seen the Torchwood series. I have a huge man crush on John Barrowman, who we know from the CW shows, but he's Captain Jack Harkness. And he's a hunk of burning love as far as I'm concerned. And I'm a straight dude.
And
but
wow.
Peter Capaldi plays a British, I guess he's in Parliament, who knows what's going on. First of all, Children of Earth is so good, it's so dark, and it's so scary. And it's such great science fiction, but he basically plays a guy who knows what's up. He plays a really, I would say, a bad man. I mean, he's a family man, but his portrayal in these 5 episodes it makes you angry, and then it's totally heartbreaking by the end. And I think James Gunn probably saw that and said, this guy, if he had a little bit more darkness, he could have been a Bond villain. He could still be a Bond villain, but I'll bet he's the villain in Suicide Squad.
That's an interesting idea. Chris, as somebody who's watched a lot more of The Doctor than I have, what do you think about this edition?
I'm so excited. I love Peter Capaldi. He's an amazing actor. And I know you haven't seen any Doctor Who, but you know what you would like, John, because you like political dramas and things like that? He was on a great show called The Thick of It.
Yep.
Oh, I've heard of that.
He is hysterical on it. He is so foul-mouthed. He's so Scottish. I mean, it's incredible. And he is such a wonderful, versatile actor, too. Everyone's going to have their own Doctor. Everyone's going to have their own opinions. Capaldi was a great one. His role as the 12th Doctor, I think, was really, really great. Sometimes he didn't get great storylines, but that was not his fault. That was more Moffat and other people. But I think he's a tremendous actor, and I think him coming on board, like you were saying, to a James Gunn project to work with the fanboy of fanboys, he's only going to be utilized in a really interesting way.
All right, well, I guess that leaves the question up for you guys. What do you think about the addition of Peter Capaldi to Suicide Squad 2, working with James Gunn on that? And on top of all of that, like, who do you think he might play in the movie as well? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down out of the way, let's move on to our second main topic today. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This is from Philip G193. Hey, Campea. I was thinking about this for a couple of weeks now. Do you think Rise of Skywalker could be the last time we'll hear the Star Wars theme song? I'm not sure about you, but for me, I kind of associate that theme with the Skywalker saga. Do you think there'll be new themes for the next new trilogies? Or do you think they'll have the same theme and has nothing to do with the Skywalker saga? I never really even thought about how John Williams so tied that to Luke and everyone. How do you feel about that?
Here's the thing. This was a question that first kind of came up when Rogue One was coming out. And word came out that stunned a lot of us. And to this day, I honestly think is one of the worst mistakes Lucasfilm has made. And that was that Rogue One was not going to have the opening crawl, that traditional opening crawl of a Star Wars movie. Only then, being punched in the left testicle, Lucasfilm then came out and double that up with a punch to the right testicle to say, oh, and by the way, the movie's not going to start with the traditional Star Wars music. It's like, what? And by the way, I love Rogue One. I love that movie. But to this day, I've seen it about 7 or 8 times now. When I put it on and hit play, something just feels off at first. It just feels off. Now, the excuse that they made at the time, their rationale, and it's not completely without merit, but their rationale at the time was, well, the opening crawl is something that is really indicative of the main saga stories. The opening crawl and that classic Star Wars music, that's for the main saga stories, and everything else needs to be something else just so we can have something to differentiate it. And I'm like, okay, there's some merit to that. That's fine, except for one little thing. Everything in Star Wars, video games, television shows, comic books, for heaven's sakes, comic books had opening crawls. The video games all had opening crawls and the iconic music of John Williams. Da, 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 da. See, the opening crawl to me and that opening Star Wars music, that to me is a doorway that speaks directly, brothers and sisters, to our hearts. We all have a Star Wars shaped hole in our heart that only John Williams can fill. And when we come into a Star Wars movie and we see an opening crawl and we hear that opening music, it's not telling us that you're about to watch a Star Wars episodic story. It tells us and welcomes our hearts into the Star Wars universe. That's what it does. And Rogue One is a great example about how it just feels off from the beginning. Afterwards, you get into it because it's such a great movie, all that kind of stuff. Felt the same way about Solo. I mean, I really enjoy Solo, but that opening without the Star Wars fanfare, without the opening crawl, it just feels wrong. It feels wrong. Now, is this the most important thing in the world? Obviously not. We're talking about the first minute of a movie that comes and goes and then it's gone, then you move on with the rest of the movie. I don't want to overstate it, although I know I'm using a lot of hyperbole here. I admit that. But it's special and it's great. And historically, they've always used the music and opening crawl in every medium, even the comic books minus the music. Even the comic books would have opening crawls in the beginning. You know what differentiates saga movies from everything else? The story. That's what differentiates it. You don't need to have, let's just change that music. No, that Star Wars theme, that opening crawl is what welcomes us and ushers us and transports us into the Star Wars universe, now ready to see and hear whatever story you want us to tell. And I think that's been a tragic mistake on their part. And getting to the specific of the question itself, Rob, do I think this could be the final time that we hear that iconic Star Wars music at the beginning of a movie? That speaks directly to, is this going to be the last Star Wars episodic movie? Will Lucasfilm move on and do an episode 10 someday and an episode 11, even though it's not part of the Skywalker saga per se? I still think they will, but there's a possibility they won't. And if they won't, yeah, episode 9 is going to be the last time we hear this music opening up a Star Wars movie, according to their logic and what they're saying at Lucasfilm. And I think that's a mistake. It's not the worst mistake in the world, but I think it's a mistake. And they don't seem to be showing any signs of budging from that, which I think is silly. Anyway, Rob, you see all this. What do you think about it?
Dude, I'm with you 100%. The Star Wars theme and the crawl is, not the theme itself, but the crawl was derived from 40s serials.
Right.
They would begin with these crawls. They set the story. That is Star Wars. And what I always loved as a kid with Star Wars Empire and Jedi was, okay, you get the Star Wars theme, but it's how then the score would be transitioned out of that theme, like when the camera pans over Tatooine, or you see the launching the probe droids, or at the beginning of Jedi, you see another Star Destroyer and the Death Star, or whatever. If you're not using the idea, first of all, for studios that pay so much money to marketing people, the idea that you wouldn't have the Star Wars theme is your brand. It's like the James Bond theme at the beginning of a movie, dun 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 dun. You know what it is. To not use the Star Wars theme is the height of idiocy, and it is weird corporate branding. Ooh, let's look at this on a spreadsheet, because whoever made that decision is not a Star Wars fan, does not understand that yes, this is your entire brand wrapped up in a few musical notes. And every single Star Wars project should start with a theme and start with a crawl. That is Star Wars. That's just what it is. You want to have somebody else come in and do the theme, do it, like recompose it. That's what's fun with the James Bond themes.
Yeah.
If they bring somebody on to do a new, if Michael came in, or you had Bill Conti come in for Your Eyes Only. The James Bond theme was a James Bond theme, but there was they recomposed it, and the composer would slightly put a spin on it and do it differently. But you still get the theme. That's how the movies begin, and it is just inane. Rogue One made me angry that it didn't have that Star Wars theme. Even the way it started, I'm like, I get what they're trying to do. Oh, we have to differentiate our movies. Why? You're making a Star Wars movie that's set in the Star Wars universe. That's what it is. You guys, that was another stupid corporate mandated decision that was found in some boardroom somewhere. It was dumb. And to not use one of the great themes ever written for movies, you've got the ultimate branding, and to not use it, you people are idiots for not using the Star Wars theme.
Yeah, not a lot of two ways about it here. I mean, I love the fact that you brought up, even if you just want to go from a business point of view, Rob, I like the point you're making here about branding. Mm-hmm. Forget my heart, which you've broken. Forget all the sentimentality. Forget the specialness of it. If you want to put all that aside for a second, fine. But you raise a great point. From a business point of view, no one will ever have branding like this ever again. And that crawl, that music is such an integral part of this IP that, I just don't understand. I really hope they go back on this.
John,
I really do.
Rogue One, It says on the poster, a Star Wars story. Well, when it starts, then give me that. Give me that burst of adrenaline that I get. Whoever decided back in 1977 to have the fanfare the way it came on and the words Star Wars going back into the distance, that was a genius move. And why anybody would not want to continue using that and continue using that crawl, because that gets everybody hyped and it sets the story. It's a great storytelling shortcut as well. It shows just how stupid people can be at the highest levels of any company.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about all this?
Well, I mean, we are speaking in hypotheticals here, though, of could this even be a thing? Because we're not sure they're going to cut everything when they do make these movies in the future. I think from what you guys are saying and what other fans have said, too, they know now, hey, people get real pissed when we don't put these songs in here. Now, do I think maybe we won't get Leia's theme in the next set of movies? Possibly. But I still think we'll have all of the ba-bam right when everything starts. I think we'll have the same music when those TIE fighters or whatever kind of new ship is coming in to, mess with our rebels or mess with our heroes, whatever we're dealing with in the new movies or the other Star Wars stories. But I think, I just can't imagine that they would stop using that epic John Williams music. That seems so dumb.
That's it. It seems dumb, but I don't know, guys. Listen, I admit, we are talking about the first 45 seconds to minute of a movie. It doesn't make or break the movie. I still ended up loving Rogue One. I know, but it just, there's just no good reason not to use them, and I fear they may not moving forward. Question is, guys, what do you think about all this? Jump down into the comment section below. Agree or disagree? I want to hear from you either way. Let me know what you think about that. Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This is from Victor Geggy. Despite the delays, I've always been interested in Ad Astra. Just wondering if you saw the first round of reviews that have come out. They're not perfect, but the rating is really high, and those that like it seem to love it. What do you think about them, and do they reflect what you saw them coming in? Where you saw them coming in, excuse me.
I'll tell you what, Ad Astra is a film that's had my attention from the beginning. It's an interesting sounding story. A dude's father went off on this deep space mission decades ago, never heard from again. Now they find out there might be a little bit more to it, and he's tasked now. Brad Pitt is tasked with the responsibility of going out and fixing whatever happened or finding out whatever happened. We're not so sure. Now, of course, infamously, it was supposed to come out a while ago, and then it was we got to within a few weeks of when it was supposed to come out, and then they finally announced that it had been pushed with no trailers. Now it's finally coming. And yes, the first reviews for Ad Astra are coming out, and they're really quite strong. As of this recording, the movie was sitting at 87% with the critics, with almost 60 reviews in. And we're getting some really good stuff here. Total Film says it's sublime and stupendous, beautiful, bold, and remarkably executed. This is Gary's masterpiece, driven by a career best, that's saying something, by Brad Pitt. Then we have the rap is saying Brad Pitt blurs the lines between fear and precision so easily that it's a haunting experience. The Guardian writes, it's an extraordinary picture, steely and unbending, and assembled with an unmistakable air of wide-eyed zealotry. I mean, all these sorts of things. And hey, again, even the people who are saying they don't like it are saying, hey, it's pretty solid, but it doesn't quite work. Like, even the ones that are being negative on it are only mildly being negative, like only by a little bit coming in under that line at that point. So it's encouraging to hear positive things about it coming out at this point. What's really interesting to me is when you consider the fact that we already have a lot of people, after seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is not my favorite movie of the year, but a lot of people are saying that might be one of Brad Pitt's best performances ever. And certainly he's going to get some Oscar buzz. Whether he does or doesn't get a nomination, we'll have to wait and see. But there's going to be some buzz about him maybe getting a nomination. And now we're getting another film like this, and we're getting some critics saying, and that wasn't the only one, we're getting a number of critics saying this may be Brad Pitt's greatest performance of his career. Brad Pitt has never gone away, so we can't call this the Pittissance. We can't call it a Pittissance because he's never gone away. I mean, he's been here the whole time.
Can
but still,
we call it that, though?
Just because it would be fun, the Pittissance. But, I mean, this could be the year of Brad Pitt. I mean, this could be Brad Pitt's year. However, Rob, I know you've been very intrigued by this movie from the get-go, and the sounds of you're deep into sci-fi stuff. Now we've seen trailers. We're getting closer to the recent. Now we're hearing the first batch of reviews coming out. What are you feeling about Ad Astra right now?
Well, people are calling it like Apocalypse Now in space because he goes up searching for his father who's lost around Neptune or something. All you have to do is say the word space. Just put space in your movie. I will turn out for that film. This movie looks great. They go to the moon. They go to Mars. Natasha Lyonne is like working in this. She's in this movie and she's like on Mars. I can't wait to see this movie. It's one of my most eagerly awaited films of the year. I like James Gray very much as a director. This is out of his wheelhouse, but it looks like it's an epic sci-fi adventure set in our solar system. I can't wait for this movie. I want to see it on a giant IMAX screen. I hope it's fantastic. I am an easy lay for this movie, let me tell you. I am an easy lay.
There's your
have its
t-shirt.
way with Ed Astra. Have your way with me.
There's your new t-shirt. Question is, guys, what are you feeling right now about Ad Astra? I'm thinking it's looking spectacular. The reviews are really solid. Rob is clearly uncomfortably excited for this movie.
Ad Astra Glide.
What do you guys think about it? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. Chris, what is our fourth main topic today?
Spencer Armendino writes, regarding the Deadpool situation, I read an interview with Morena Baccarat talking about a possible return, which would be great, but considering Deadpool is directly connected to the X-Men universe, a universe that doesn't exist anymore, wouldn't they need to recast her? Ryan Reynolds too, for that matter? What do you think? Is there going to be a recast?
Well, this is funny that this got sent in because I actually had an interesting debate online the other day with somebody who raised a valid point to me saying, John, and they were raising a valid point. They said, John, now you say that when you reboot, you reboot. You don't bring over some of the other cast, blah, blah, blah. I've always said there's only two exceptions in my world. I've always said this for years. Two exceptions to that rule would be getting James Earl Jones back to do the voice of Mufasa, which they then did, and getting, I almost said J. Jonah James to come back, getting J.K. to come back to play J. Jonah. I said those are the only exceptions that I would ever make to that rule, generally speaking. But yeah, I think when you reboot, you need to make a clean start of it. Leave all the other baggage behind, clean start over again. So the argument that the person was making to me online was, with the fact that that Deadpool is a part of that X-Men universe. Deadpool is a part of the Fox X-Men universe, and now that universe is gone. You have to reboot the character, and if you are rebooting the character, then you absolutely have to recast. You got to recast. So it's great that Morena Baccarat is saying she wants him. By the way, Morena Baccarat. Anyway, I get a little flutter whenever I think about her. She's so great. You know what? The two ultimate dream girls for geek boys, I think, in cinematic history. Rosario Dawson in Clerks 2 and Morena Baccarat in Deadpool. I think those are the two ultimate dream girls for geek boys. Rob, you're shaking your head at me. You're not agreeing with me here on that. You don't like that?
Grace Kelly in Rear Window is my ultimate geek fantasy.
Okay.
Come on.
Or
Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct for other reasons.
I don't mean to poo-poo on that. But I'm just saying she's
great.
What
are the reasons, Rob?
I'm just saying she's great. And
do you in with an ice pick.
And I love Ryan Reynolds. Everybody knows I love Ryan Reynolds. Good Canadian kid. In the role of Deadpool, a role he was born to play. But if you are rebooting Deadpool, yeah, you got to recast. You got to recast Ryan Reynolds. You got to recast Morena Baccarat. Maybe not even have her character there. However, you don't need to reboot Deadpool. See, that's the beauty of this. You don't need to reboot Deadpool, because while you can make the argument that Deadpool was in that X-Men universe, I can make the argument, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. But the X-Mansion was there. Yeah, but that could be any X-Mansion. You look at Colossus. That wasn't the X-Men's Colossus. That wasn't even remotely close to the Colossus that had been in the X-Men films to that point. And yes, they did a funny little cameo where Deadpool opens the door and there's the cast of X-Men Days of Future Past standing behind the door. That was a very, very funny moment, but it was a gag. We also see in that movie that Deadpool time travels, finds Ryan Reynolds reading the Green Lantern script, and murders him. Is that part of continuity? So while I will agree in theory that if you need to reboot Deadpool in order to bring him into the MCU, and I don't want Deadpool in the MCU, but that's besides the point. If you need to reboot Deadpool in order to bring him into the MCU, yeah, I will agree that you should probably recast Ryan Reynolds. But the thing is, the nature of who and what the Deadpool character is, there is no need to reboot. You could bring him in there, a totally different universe, and he instantly makes one joke about it at the beginning, and it settles everything. There is no need to reboot this guy. So you just bring him in, you have him make a fourth wall break joke about it, and you move on.
Yeah.
And you still got the same Deadpool. It really doesn't affect anything else whatsoever. So I will say again, in theory, if they had to reboot, okay, recast, because that's generally what I believe. But I don't see there any reason, whether he's in the MCU or not in the MCU, however they decide to handle it at this point, I don't see there being any reason to reboot the character. So you're damn right you keep Marina Baccarin. You're damn right you keep Ryan Reynolds, the good Canadian kid. And you just move forward. And you can keep the same Colossus. Even if your new X-Men movies 4 years from now have a different Colossus, you can still do it because it's just part of the gag and we're all in on it. So that's how I see it. Rob, what do you think about it?
I totally agree.
I love when you start your answer with
you start dead. I mean, the idea. I just don't understand why somebody would be like, "Yeah, you have to reboot Deadpool." You know what the first line of the movie is? He gets up out of bed and he's like, "God, sometimes don't you just feel you wound up in another universe when you wake up in the morning?" Done. You move forward. Why would anybody want to recast Ryan Reynolds? Those films have each grossed over close to $1 billion each. It's a $1.5+ billion franchise with 2 movies. I mean, like you said, John, you made all the arguments. You don't need to reboot Deadpool. You know what? If I was going to be Daniel Craig and I was in a James Bond movie, I bet I would say, you know what? You can't use Judi Dench's M because she was in Pierce Brosnan's James Bond movies. No, you use Judi Dench's M because she kicked ass. Mm-hmm. I mean, why would you ever change it? Why? It's so weird. And by the way, who would you cast as Deadpool? Is there anybody that could play Deadpool better than Ryan Reynolds?
My philosophy on that, I think we as fans have a flaw in that we see somebody in a role and we I think have a fallacy of going, no one else can play that. I'm sure other people could come along and play it, but why would you?
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Like, so I'm sure somebody else can make a great beef Wellington, but if I've got Chef Ramsay there making my beef Wellington and I know he'll do great, yeah, maybe somebody else can do it just as well or better, but I've got Gordon Ramsay here. Let him make my beef Wellington. It's perfect. It's great. You can replace Ryan Reynolds, but why would you? If you don't need to, why on earth would you? That's the part I don't get. Anyway, Chris, like, look, I'm saying if Kevin Feige came out and said, we have to reboot Deadpool, I'll disagree with them, but I then would at least be able to go, I can understand why you'd recast the characters at that point. I just see no need for rebooting, but how would you approach this question?
If Kevin Feige said we need to recast Deadpool, I would go on the internet, I'd buy him a bag of jelly dicks, and I'd send him a note that says, eat these jelly dicks. Eat this bag of dicks, Kevin Feige. Like, what? No!
Bag of jelly dicks.
Yeah, they're little like gummy bears, but they're shaped like penises. You can get them flesh colored or multi.
That's fascinating.
It's a fun thing. I learned that this weekend at a barbecue. Good stuff.
Can you get black licorice versions of them?
Oh, jeez.
Yes, special order. So you don't need to reboot this. He exists in his own little pocket universe. He's meta, as my friend Megan said. Deadpool is the honey badger of Marvel. He don't give a fuck. He's going to show up wherever he wants to.
Right.
And like Rob was saying, he's waking up. He's in another universe. I would love if he had little woodland creatures come greet him. And then he just murdered everything and was like, all right, back to my shit.
Also, John, you really pointed something out that I think he's not really in any universe.
Yeah.
He's in his own universe. And I think the idea of bringing Deadpool, at least as he is currently portrayed or has been portrayed, bringing him into necessarily the MCU proper isn't a great thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not hyped on that idea.
Yeah. No, I
I'm sure Feige would figure out a way to make it work, but in principle, I don't like the idea.
You can bring the MCU into a Deadpool movie, but I don't think you should put Deadpool in an MCU movie, if that makes any sense.
It should be small. It should be like how Ryan Reynolds was in Hobbs and Shaw. You know, just pop in, give it that little Ryan Reynolds sprinkle on GTFO.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Well, listen, that is actually the topic of today's question of the day. I asked you guys today, and on my Twitter account, which you can find me and follow me on Twitter simply at John Campea. By the way, that's also my Facebook address. It's also my Instagram address. Anyway, you can go over to Twitter, the John Campea, at John Campea, and I made that the topic of today's question of the day. And the question that I asked you guys simply was this: if Deadpool does go into the MCU, is it necessary for them to reboot and recast it? That was the basic question. And in a total change of events, in which a lot of times you guys disagree with me, overwhelmingly, this might be the most lopsided. Yesterday was probably the closest question of the day ever. Today is probably the most lopsided ever. 96% of you, a little over 5,000 of you have already casted your votes. I put this up just before we started the show today. 5,000 of you voted. 96% of you are saying, no, you don't need to reboot. You keep Ryan Reynolds. But 4% of you, still 4% of you, and out of 5,000, that's actually a big number, are saying, yes, you got to start over, reboot and recast. I think there's no need to reboot this whole thing. That's just my thought. Question is for you guys, what do you think about it? If you'd like to go cast your vote over there on that poll, I'm going to leave that poll up for the next 24 hours. You can go and do that, or just jump on down into the comments section below and leave your thoughts there. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our fifth and final main topic today. Chris, what is our fifth main topic today?
Final topic is coming from David. Just finished watching the new Dark Crystal series on Netflix, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen on television. The creative use of puppets, the characters, the complex mythology, the music, it's all just perfection. I was just wondering if you guys have had the chance to see it yet, and if so, what your thoughts are. Thanks.
You liked it a lot. You know what? I am now halfway through. I'm halfway through the Dark Crystal season 1. And I'm going to admit to you guys right now, the first episode didn't completely win me over. I was in awe of the visuals of it. It looked beautiful. The color palette in it is gorgeous, just gorgeous. And I did instantly love the fact that the Skeksis are perfect. They're perfect. Like when they brought up Chamberlain for the first time, I'm like, tell me that's the original puppet. I mean, it can't be, because that thing would be falling apart by now, but oh my God, it looks exactly like the original puppet, which I loved. And by the way, I couldn't believe when I found out that wasn't the original voice of Chamberlain. They got Simon Pegg to do the voice of the Chamberlain. He sounds nothing like him. Sounds nothing like Simon Pegg. It sounds like a perfect Chamberlain. So good. But overall, I thought it was okay. I thought it was good, the first episode. I thought the first episode was good. And it's certainly enough that I want to see episode 2. But then when I saw episode 2 and episode 3, then the mythology really started to sink in. And I'm like, this is really good. And I started to absolutely fall in love with this damn thing. And I know, Rob, you've seen it because you came in here the other day and you're like, have you seen Dark Crystal yet? I know you were really pumped about it, as I am completely on board with it at this point. I still haven't finished it out yet. Where are you with the show right now, and what are you thinking about it so far?
Well, I'm done, and I think that what's astonishing to me, first of all, is the writing. And the how that was the mythology was expanded. Yes, there have been graphic novels, and yes, there have been things that have come out since the original film. But they brought Brian Frood back to do character designs, and the realization of this world, it's on par with any of the great fantasy epics. I mean, the TV show is so far beyond the original film in terms of the characters, in terms of the writing. Louis Leterrier directing the episodes. It's shot and photographed, and the camera moves. It looks like a feature film. The integration of CG work for large vistas and big movements, and then with all their practical live action stuff, which is seamless. It is just a towering achievement in fantasy filmmaking, and first of all, I'm astonished it exists, and I'm astonished that it's working at the highest level of fantasy filmmaking. If I only have one criticism and I get over this, it's the mouth movements of the Gelflings. it just sort of betrays the fact. I mean, there's nothing you can do. They're puppets. I mean, that's you've got to buy into the puppet reality of it. But that was the only thing, and then you quickly forget about all of it. But to me, it's a astonishing, staggering achievement in fantasy filmmaking that is at the very, very highest levels. And kudos to the writing staff and the production staff, because it's more than anything else, it's a really compelling story.
And they didn't skimp on mythology to tell a puppet movie.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
right from the beginning, even with just Gelflings, you say Gelflings. Nah, 7 tribes of Gelflings, each unique and different. And there's actually racism amongst the Gelflings.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
Yes, which plays key parts into it's a political drama. I mean, this is not think puppets. It's a kid. Oh, okay, so it's a kid show. No, it is not. And I am digging it. Chris, you were the first one out of anybody to see. You got to see the Dark Crystal, the entire series early, like even before it launched. And I know you've been dying to talk about it, but what overall, what were your thoughts of the Dark Crystal season 1 here?
It's been killing me not having been able to talk to people about it, because I finished everything, last Tuesday, and was like, I just want to talk to someone. Like, even my husband was like, was it good? And I was like, you have to watch it in a week. It's so amazing. I love everything about it. I've done videos on the lore and mythology and everything before, and so being able to watch this series, which expands on it so much, is so wonderful, because the politics, the racism, all of this is so much more akin to Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings than, your typical Henson, Sesame Street, Fraggle situation.
There's even podling nudity.
There is.
There's podling nudity in this show.
I love podlings. They're based on potatoes.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
That's not surprising.
I think they're just precious. I think this is a wonderful show, and I think it's something that honestly anyone can get into, because if you do like, Henson Productions, if you're a Muppet fan or something like that, if you love fantasy or sci-fi, if you miss Game of Thrones, if you like epics, or even if you like familial or political drama, there's so much peppered into this story that I think it's really accessible for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the question here is, it's a win across the board for all of us here, and I haven't even finished it yet. So I'm hoping to finish it off within the next 2 days. I'm going to watch another episode today, and then probably watch the last couple tomorrow. But anyway, guys, have you guys have a chance yet to watch Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance? If so, jump down in the comment section below. Were you impressed with it? Did it exceed your expectations? Did it disappoint you? Maybe it didn't live up to the hype that you were hearing about it. I want to know where your thoughts are about it. Jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys, that does it for all of our main topics today. We're going to go over now and start taking live questions that you guys have been sending in. But before we go over and get to those live questions, we're just going to take a short little break here, stretch our legs, go refill our drinks and all that kind of stuff, taking a short non-commercial break, as I like to call them. So hang tight with us. We'll be back in just 3.5 minutes. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Thank you so much, guys, for your patience and indulging us as we went and took our break. Apparently, a Bad Boys trailer is dropped, but we didn't have time to watch it. So we haven't watched it. So we're going to have to talk about it probably on tomorrow's show. Maybe I'll make another video a little bit later today if I think the trailer's any good. But apparently a Bad Boys 3 trailer has dropped just during the waning moments of the first part of the show there. So I'm just so you guys know, we're aware of it. We just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So we will get to that, though, probably on tomorrow's shows when most likely we'll talk about it. Anyway, with talking about today's show, though, we have a whole bunch of questions that you guys have sent in, so we're going to go over and get to those right now. Let's get things started. First thing comes to us from Hector Travel, says, "Hey, John, was wondering why your logo is faceless." Well, when we were designing a logo, you know, a lot of logos that will have like the personality in the logo, 90% of them or more have like the full faces and everything. And just a minority of them, I've noticed that there were a couple that went faceless, and I kind of like that a little bit more because I wanted more of a silhouette kind of an image, which you can see right here. I wanted more of, that was sort of silhouette, but not just a silhouette. And I thought going face was a bit, Scott Van Pelt does that as well. And I really like that. So I thought instead of being like all the other ones, I wanted it to be a little bit different. So that's why we went with that. Let's see. Initial D's writes, "Hey, JC, how important are Oscar movies to studios? They don't usually make a ton of money. So what are the benefits of a movie winning? Why do studios contend to pick up a potential Oscar-winning movie?" Well, I mean, there's a couple of ways to answer that. First off, filmmakers want to win Oscars. I mean, that's just it. Filmmakers want to win Oscars. Even, you know, I was told by somebody who worked at Disney that, you know, Alan Horn, who is the High Lord of all things, he wants Oscars. I mean, that's a bragging point of all that. That's why all these people get in this business. They want to be acknowledged or kind of recognized by their peers as the best, right? They want to win Oscars. Plus, when your films do win Oscars, it does make a lot of money. Because when your film becomes a big Oscar buzz contender, particularly if you win, it actually makes a lot of money for you afterwards as well. So there's high stuff in that. And why do you want to make Oscar-like films? Because you want to make great movies. That's why. Like, you still want to make money on them, but you want to tell great stories and make great movies. And those aren't always comic book movies, and those aren't always Terminator movies or Star Wars movies or whatever. Sometimes you just want to tell great stories. And that's, Rob, how would you answer that?
Well, look, I mean, the Oscars are like the Super Bowl of movies. And what football team doesn't want to win the Super Bowl or the World Cup or whatever it is? I mean, the thing about Oscar movies is there's the prestige, there's the fact that they become timeless for the most part. I mean, they're generally considered to be the best movies made. So it's not just a studio wanting prestige, it's the whole industry. You know, you're grabbing at that brass ring, literally. And, you know, if you go back, and for the most part, I've gone back into Oscar history and watched a lot of the Best Picture winners and also the nominees, and they're all pretty damn good movies, you know, and you can aspire to that, and I think you're working at a very high level if you're making Oscar caliber films, and what's not to love about them?
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, and I know you didn't mean it like this, but ultimately what you're really asking is, why does a studio want to make great movies? Because they want to make great movies, and these ones are the best. Anyway, next one up here comes to us from Benny95, who writes, "Saw it with a bunch of friends back in 2017. Now we're all back together again 2 years later." That's pretty awesome. "To watch the sequel tomorrow night. Can't wait." That's pretty awesome. I love hearing that because it's almost like you're the Losers Club yourselves. You were there to face Pennywise then, now you're back together now. I think that's awesome, Benny. And movies are shared experiences, and when you can do them with the same group of people, it makes it all that much more special. So have a good time. I'm going to go see it tomorrow night myself. I had a press screening for it the other night, but I pass on most press screenings these days. So I'm going to go see it tomorrow night. Me and Ann are going to watch it. I'm very excited about it, and that sounds like a really great time, Benny. That sounds awesome. All right, Ben Rayner writes, "I can't wait for Joker. I think I'm more pumped for that than Rise of Skywalker. If not, it's super close for me. How about you guys?" Hey, listen, I've already said, now obviously for me, Star Wars is Star Wars, so there's that. But the two most anticipated movies I have this year are Star Wars and Joker. Out of the ones that are left, it's Star Wars and Joker. And I would not blame anybody at all for Joker being the number one, especially with everything that's riding on it, and then all the reviews we're hearing coming out about it, and what it looks like it could represent, a total different sort of direction for comic. Lots of reasons why I'm super stoked for this. Chris, what about you? Like, where's Joker right now rating for you, roughly, on your list of the most anticipated movies left for the rest of the year?
I mean, it's probably, Joker, then Star Wars, and then Cats, obviously. I'm going to keep doing this joke till it comes out, guys. I don't care. This movie looks so ridiculous. No, I would put Joker a little below Star Wars. What's really great is right now, both of these movies make my fandom super accessible for my friends who aren't into these fandoms. Last Jedi, love it or hate it, a whole bunch of my friends who are not, into Star Wars or into nerd culture or sci-fi or anything really, went and saw that movie and talked to me about how much they loved it and how they wanted to go see this next movie with me. Joker, I have a whole bunch of friends talking about how, wow, this looks like nothing I've ever seen before from a comic book movie. That makes me really want to go. Will you go with me? So I'm just excited that both of these things are out there and making, these fandoms super accessible to everyone. It's going to be great.
Joker does kind of look like a comic book movie for people who aren't into comic book movies.
Exactly.
Which could be very, very exciting. Rob, what about you?
Well, I want to see Astra Glide, but I do want to see Joker and
when that porn comes out, I better get money.
Obviously, Rise of Skywalker. But no, I think what's interesting to me about Joker is it isn't so much a comic book. Like when I open if this is going to sound a little weird, but when I open a comic book, I don't necessarily open a comic book to read a comic book story. I open it to read a great story the same way I open up a book or that I watch a movie or a TV show. And I think what Joker has done in a way is taken the comic book origins out of the character and injected a large dollop of the real world. I mean, it's made him more relevant. Any of us can become a Joker. Indeed, we live in a world where we have a lot of craziness going on, where people, like you have always said, John, one bad day. It reminds me kind of Falling Down, Joel Schumacher's movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas, how one man the modern age just snaps him one day and he snaps. And it's different, but I like those kinds of movies, that how the everyman can be turned into somebody who's no longer an everyman and is a danger to himself and to the world at large. I love those stories. So,
all right,
bring it on.
Let's move on here. Hassan Chavez writes, Robert, would you play Striking Vipers with John? I don't even know what that is.
It's a Black Mirror reference.
Oh, I don't watch Black Mirror.
I don't think John's the kind of guy that would enjoy Striking Vipers.
I don't watch Black Mirror, so.
But now somebody's just put this image. John, you'll just have to watch it and understand.
All right, maybe someday. All right,
but somebody just put that image in my head.
Tom Weihenberg writes, thoughts on Locke 2013? Awesome. Just saw it and loved it. Incredible performance by Tom Hardy. Should be boring, a man driving and making calls, but is gripping all the way through. Reminded me of Buried in 2010. That's exactly what it was for me as well, Tom. It's like when I have a hard time thinking about Buried without also thinking about Locke and vice versa. And both of them are incredible showcases for really what these guys can do. Tom Hardy, we've seen a lot. A lot of people, though, forget Ryan Reynolds can actually really act. And if you don't know that, watch Buried. Buried, literally, every frame of that movie takes place in a box buried 6 feet underground. Ryan Reynolds wakes up in it. He's got a cell phone and he's got a lighter, and the entire movie takes place in that box. If you can't act your ass off, that movie falls on its face. And it's incredible and gripping. And Tom Hardy brings that same sort of thing to Locke. I really enjoyed it. Rob, did you ever have a chance to watch it?
I own Locke. Would you be surprised to know that I own Locke on Blu-ray?
I am not surprised in the least.
I love Locke. I mean, to me, it's if you can pull that kind of a movie off, you're truly a master filmmaker. And between the director and Tom Hardy's performance, oh my God. Riveting, incredible film.
Did you have a chance to see it, Chris?
I haven't seen either, but now I need to.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I would say start with Buried, watch Locke.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not for the claustrophobic.
Which I am.
All right, let's see. Let's move on here. Kevin Lewis writes, saw Blinded by the Light and didn't realize how anti-Muslim many Englanders were in the 80s. A hot issue today. I mean, I think there's a lot of people today. Look, we are a out of sight, out of mind kind of people. Yes, we are. We forget, like when people go back and watch Milk, the Sean Penn film Milk, it's like if you think there are problems today with homophobia and whatever, like go watch Milk. And we forget, like, wait a minute, was our society really, when it came to certain issues, were we that evil? Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because today we're talking about Just Mercy. It's like, wait a minute, did we really do things like that not all that long ago? Yeah, we really did, which is part of the reason why we as a culture and society need to continue to be very vigilant and look out for warning signs that may suggest we're falling back into that. You know, the old saying, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. And it's yeah, I mean, that's what makes films like these, and why I was really kind of taken with the Just Mercy trailer as well. Why it's important for us to not forget this stuff. Now, and I haven't even seen Blinded by the Light yet. Like you and I, Rob, we were at CinemaCon. We got to see the filmmakers and the stars of the thing and talk to them about, you know, the social society issues and stuff like that at the time. But it's things like that makes movies like these important, I think. So I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
Well, no, I completely agree. And, you know, you go back and you watch, like, it's the Pakistani community. Stephen Frears made a movie back in the 80s called My Beautiful Andrette that dealt with that community and also homophobia and that kind of thing. And look, we're not nice people. The long history of humanity has not been one of rainbows and moonbeams and joy and love. I mean, we're not a very good species, and we've gotten better, especially in the last 100 years. But we have a long way to go. But yeah, you know, you watch these movies and you forget that kind of. And there's a lot more. In England, too, we don't have the kind of anti-Muslim bias because we didn't have the large Muslim communities that they actually had in these countries. We didn't have that here. So that kind of casual racism, I mean, we do it differently here, but because we're a little bit more spread out. But it's really interesting. I mean, I didn't even understand what that was. I remember seeing My Beautiful Andrette, and it was specifically the Pakistani community. And I was like, people have a problem with the Pakistani community? It's hard for us Americans to fathom that, but yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Tom Weinberg writes, 5 favorite films with rotten scores. Number 1, Man of Steel. Number 2, Batman vs. Superman. Number 3, Hook. I love Hook. I don't care. I am always disgusted when I hear how many people don't like Hook. I love Hook. Bangarang. Anyway, 4, Troy. 5, Man on Fire. Did Man on Fire get bad scores?
How could somebody not love Man on Fire?
Wait a minute. Did it really get bad critic scores?
I don't know.
That's really good. Honorable mention to Home Alone 2. That movie is awesome. Hold a second. I got to take 1 second here.
And who doesn't love Troy?
I don't love Troy.
I don't love Troy.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't work.
It didn't do it for me.
Yeah, Man on Fire.
Home Alone 2, I can only think about John Mulaney now, where he's like, it's a grid system. How are you lost?
Actually, the reason I didn't come up is because I accidentally put in Han on Fire, which I guess is a Fast and
I want to see that movie.
Han on Fire. Man on Fire. 39% critic rating.
What?
I really like that movie.
Man on
That's
Fire
crazy.
rules.
Yeah, I really do. It's one of Denzel's best performances.
Crazy.
The one I'm bothered by most, though, is Hook. How dare you?
You
critics?
don't like Hook?
No, I'm saying, how could that have a bad score?
Oh, I know.
love Hook.
Hook is
a lot of
Spielberg's
people
worst
hate it.
movie.
See?
It's terrible.
See? It's awesome.
It's a great movie.
And I was on set for that movie.
Oh, Bangarang. Bangarang. I love Hook.
See,
But you know, Rob's not. But Rob's, honestly, in Rob's defense, Rob's not alone. I know a lot of people who do not like that movie. And it always stuns me whenever I hear that because I think it's a bloody awesome movie.
When Robin Williams died, I came home to my husband and my best friend, drunk out of their minds, crying and laughing and watching Hook. And I'd been on set all day. And so I come through the door and both of them just scream, Robin Williams is dead! Bangarang!
Yeah. So sad.
Rob,
All right.
we need to check your heart. That movie is glorious.
I love it. Anyway, JCL Productions writes, hey, John, Tyler Perry's opening another studio lot. Never cared for his movies, but I have tremendous respect for his hustle and vision. I think you said you met him once. Are you a fan? I've actually had the opportunity to get together and chat with Tyler Perry on a couple of occasions. One was we sat down and talked for like a half hour to 45 minutes about his... which one was it? The
Alex Cross?
Yes, Alex Cross. We sat down to talk about Alex Cross, which was based on... It's the same character from the novels of Along Came a Spider.
James Patterson.
And I think that was Morgan Freeman played the character in those roles. Now Tyler Perry's playing it. And I had a wonderful conversation with Tyler Perry. He was great. Like 15 of the minutes was just us sitting around as he was getting his makeup done and just chatting. And he was so nice and so great and really friendly and really funny. And I was looking forward to Alex Cross. And then I saw the movie, and it was every bit as bad as everything you've heard about it. It was that bad and more. It's horrible.
He tried,
Absolutely
though.
horrible. He tried, though. He tried. And then I had a chance. I was a keynote speaker at a big AMC, the annual AMC big leadership conference in Atlanta one year. And there were 2 keynotes that day. It was me, and it was Tyler Perry. And, well, I'll let you guess who the opening act was. So I got a chance to talk to him backstage again. And again, so friendly, so engaging. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. Although in Gone Girl, he's awesome. He's
awesome.
Awesome in Gone Girl. He's great in that movie. As a filmmaker, look, I'll be honest. I am not a fan of his films. I'm not a fan of his films. But that doesn't change for 1 second the amount of respect I have for this guy. Because you're right. This guy has created an empire from nothing. He has created a Tyler Perry empire from nothing. And maybe the films don't work for me, but he's got a following. And you're right, man. When you got a guy who hustles like this and who works his ass off, maybe his movies don't work for me. Fine. But I still respect the dude a hell of a lot. I don't know, Rob, when you think of Tyler Perry, what comes to mind?
Well, the same thing. I mean, the fact that he's built his own studio and that he cranks out an incredible amount of work. And I'm not a big fan of his movies, but he knows his audience. He delivers. He does TV series. He does movies. And when he acts, I mean, I have to say, his performance in Gone Girl was terrific.
So
now, I
good.
understand David Fincher, who brings out great performances out of actors. But the fact that David Fincher cast him in the first place speaks a lot, speaks volumes. But like you, John, I have tremendous amount of respect for that guy, and I want to see more of his acting, not as Medea, but as like lawyers and cops.
Well, and you know
heroes
he's an admiral in the Federation.
Oh man, I know he runs. Yeah,
He's an admiral in Star Trek, man.
that was
That's all I'm
maybe
saying.
the only thing about Star Trek 09 I liked.
What do you think about Tyler Perry, Chris? Have you had any experiences?
Yeah, I really liked the movie Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I thought that was a great film. And I really like him in Gone Girl, just like you guys. Other films, not so much. Not my jam. But he makes films that people love. And I'm with you. I want to see more Gone Girl Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see some really, really great. Didn't he do an action movie a couple of years ago or some kind of like thriller?
Well,
there was Alex Cross.
Yeah.
There was Alex
okay.
Cross, which
That was that one?
It's
Okay.
best if we just forget about that
Okay.
one, which is really unfortunate. Tyler Van writes, look at Little Goblin Jr. Gonna cry. I think that's from that
Spider-Man 3.
yeah, the little parody thing that they made on YouTube, which was pretty funny actually. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Nick Kittlestev writes, my top 5: The Prestige. I love the only thing I don't like about The Prestige is the very, very end. The very end, the conclusion of the film didn't work for me, but other than that, brilliant movie. I can watch it all day. 4, Almost Famous. 3, The Count of Monte Cristo. I like Count of Monte Cristo. 2, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. And number 1, A New Hope. Again, I love that you guys are sending these top 5s because they're all such different looking lists, which really speaks to the beauty of film, which is the subjectivity. All these movies hit us differently. I love seeing these lists you guys are sending in. And there's a bunch of films on this list. I don't think I've seen The Prestige on anybody else's list. I don't think I've seen Almost Famous or The Count of Monte Cristo, Lord of the Rings and Star Wars for sure. But it's great seeing these lists come in when it's all these movies that aren't on other people's lists. All right, JB Bonifacio writes, it's not a particularly good time to be a Nazi. Great line in a great trailer. I'm so excited about this Jojo Rabbit trailer and just how just to the edge that a filmmaker like Taika Waititi is willing to go to be bold in telling stories in different ways. And I just love that moment in the trailer. All right, Jesse writes, finish. I think it probably means finished Stranger Things. There's not a Finnish version of Stranger Things in Finland. No, finished Stranger Things and loved it. Not 2 and 3 as much as 1, but I like rating the Toy Story trilogy. There's no wrong answer. Hopefully Netflix keeps the door open 3 inches and doesn't cancel it, LOL. I'll tell you what, I quite liked 2. There were a bunch of people who did not like 2. bunch of people who did not like number 2. I actually did. I thought number 2, season 2 was on par with season 1. I really did. And I think season 3 was the best of the bunch. I just love season 3. I binged the whole thing in one day. I loved it. So I haven't seen personally, for me, I've seen no decline in quality there so far. Rob, if you are like, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I didn't. I thought they're kind of like the Steven Soderbergh's Oceans trilogy. Like the first one, Oceans 11, was really great. Oceans 12 was like, eh. But then Oceans 13 kind of brought it back, but it wasn't as good. But I did like season 3 of Stranger Things much better than season 2, but not as much as season 1. But I still liked it.
Chris?
I think season 3 was remarkable. Season 2, the only thing that wasn't good was the backdoor pilot episode with the Walmart X-Men. That was the only
The Walmart X.
rubbish episode. But season 3 I thought was good, except for I do have an issue with this in season 3. One, why does no one listen to Joyce Byers? Hey,
Yeah.
all these magnets are falling down. Oh, it's just a coincidence, Joyce.
No, like everywhere over town.
We live in a
magnets
hellscape.
are falling off.
And then Hopper being like, why would you want to leave Hawkins? Oh, I don't know. My kid has severe PTSD by going in and fighting Demogorgons and being stolen from me for years. And my boyfriend was like ripped apart in front of me.
By Hulk dogs.
Yeah.
By Hulk dogs, yeah. Yeah, figure that. But still, I love it. I'm with you, Jesse. I love it. But I will keep my eye open for that Finnish version of Stranger Things. Stranger Things.
What was Finland like in the 80s?
Yeah, they play good hockey. I know that. The Finnish play good hockey. Time Weinberg writes, don't have a top 5, can't decide, but my favorite overall film is The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Brilliant movie, by the way. Just a work of art. My favorite work of Roger Deakins, Affleck, Pitt, Rockwell, and others. And it is remarkable. I got to ask you guys this question, though. Have you ever seen the YouTube video that is a play on those final moments of the assassination of Jesse James? But it's Yogi Bear and Boo Boo.
Oh, wait. Yes, I have seen this.
It's hilarious. And also moving at the same time. But
It's
anyway,
weird.
Which is so weird. Rob, did you see the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford?
Well,
What
let
do
me
you think of
ask. 50% over under that I own it on Blu-ray.
Of
Yes,
course you
I adore that movie, and it doesn't get talked about nearly enough. But I have not seen the Yogi and Boo Boo.
Yeah,
parody.
I think
You should
at
check
the
it out.
time when it came out, guys, I think part of the issue was Western, Jesse James. People were thinking big shoot 'em up action cowboy movie.
Right.
And that's not what this movie is. But it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And so good. And what did you think about it, Chris?
Oh, I love a Western. So, like, I was all in for this.
Yeah, and one of the few great Westerns that they've made in recent
Yeah.
memory. Okay, let's move on here. M. Dorcher writes, going to see It and It 2 tonight as a double feature. See, I'm not always down with double features, but this, because it is the two halves of one book, it'll probably flow real well. So I think that's a really good double feature to do. All right, Cody Howard writes, for Rob, and since Titans Season 2 is coming out Friday, who would you take one-on-one between Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, both as Robin, and then current iterations?
Oh, I'm a Dick Grayson guy all the way. I mean, Jason Todd's a punk. He's a douche. You know,
In every iteration.
Yeah, I mean, give me Dick Grayson. He goes from Robin to Nightwing. I mean, I love Dick Grayson. I love the original incarnation of the Titans back. Well, not the original, but the 1980 George Perez Marv Wolfman incarnation. I will take him every day and twice on Sunday.
Look, I'm sorry. All due respect to Jason and Tim and Damien and what was the girl's name in Dark Knight Returns? Kelly.
Kelly.
There's one Robin, all right? There's one true Robin. Everybody else are just fill-ins. All due respect to Tim Drake, all due respect to all the rest of them, there's one true Robin who is worthy of wearing the Batman cowl.
Burt
And
Ward.
that is Richard Grayson. It's Nightwing. He is the true heir apparent to Batman. I still contend, you guys might have heard me say this before, my all-time favorite scene in comic books, if you can call it a scene, my all-time favorite scene in any comic book of any time in history, it is near the conclusion of the Nightfall series. Bruce Wayne is now returned They've vanished. He's defeated Bane. They vanquished Bane. Jean-Paul as the new Batman, who then went a little bit crazy and stuff like that. They dealt with him. They dealt with Bane. You know, in the story, Bane breaks Bruce's back, and Bruce leaves. And Bruce goes to Jean-Paul to become the new Batman, instead of Dick Grayson, who's off doing his Nightwing thing. And anyway, Dick Grayson comes in and helps. Tim Drake comes in and helps, and they rid everything, and everything's set right. And it's good during the final moments of that series. And there's this moment in the Batcave. Everything's done now, and now Richard is going to have it out with Bruce. And he goes to Bruce, and he's basically giving him mountains of shit, saying, why the hell did you not come to me? Why did you go to Jean-Paul? Why did you go to Azrael when it's all to become your Batman? What on earth were you thinking? Why didn't you come to me? And it's this beautiful, harsh, angry, touching, deep hurt moment of this final thing finally coming out between these two characters, and it concludes with this incredible moment and this incredible frame where basically Bruce gives his response, and it concludes with, this is the way it is between fathers and sons. And it's like really the first time I remember, I'm getting choked up thinking about it, is the first time I remember seeing in these things that Bruce actually spoke in those terms as Dick is his son. You know what I mean? But that to me is always 1000% set that the true heir to the Batmantle, the true Robin, the true guy who is the original member of the Bat family is Richard Grayson. Richard Grayson all day, every day. Chris, you look like you want to throw a shoe at me. So,
just because you're the original doesn't mean you're the best. Tim Drake was a better detective. He was such a better detective. And of course, Jason Todd is a douche. Fans voted to have him super murdered. And then he gets thrown in a Lazarus pit where you get bloodlust. Gah.
Yeah.
Why is there only water in here?
A lot of people forget that DC did a fan poll.
Yeah.
Do you want Jason to die? And they did not expect it all for the fans to vote yes.
And then they kill him so brutally.
It was actually a great moment.
It was glorious.
It's really well done, but
it's his face in with a crowbar.
Yeah.
Great moment for the Joker too. I don't know, Rob, how would you? The question was for you originally.
Yeah.
But so, like, what do you think about that?
What about Jason Todd dying?
Yeah.
I love Jason. I voted for it.
You voted for him.
I voted for him. Yeah, I mean, I Death of the Family, that storyline. I was reading that as it was happening. I'm like, yeah, I'll spend the money. I don't even know how much it was. You had to pay money though, and I'm like, count me in.
Get rid
Kill
of Jason
that guy.
Todd.
Murderer.
It was a big deal. Like, killing.
was.
It was a big deal, and that cover with his face is all bloody. I love it.
And it was so. The murder itself was so graphic. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember the frame of, first of all, Joker with his face and the crowbar over his head. The next frame, the crowbar coming down on Jason Todd's skull. And so just beating him to death. It was powerful stuff. Mm-hmm. It was powerful stuff. All right, we need to move on here. The Scumbag of New York writes, I know you don't have much time for TV, but have you ever seen The Good Place? It's from the Parks and Rec creator. Also, have a great day. I have watched a bunch of The Good Place because it is one of my wife's absolute favorite shows on television right now. She adores that show, and I've watched a bunch of it with her, and I gotta say, it's very clever. Mm-hmm. I don't love it as much as my wife does, per se, but it's got a lot of fans, and I guess this is going to be its last season. Mm-hmm. I know, Chris, you were a big fan of the show, too,
yes,
were you not?
Huge fan. I think it's one of the best comedies that's ever been on television, and I love how the cast actually knows their stuff now when it comes to philosophy. Like, if you want to be really impressed with Kristen Bell, who I have such a crush on, go watch her Hot Ones. She talks about her own views on philosophy and gets, asked some questions on there. She's incredible. But the show itself, I think, is so smart and so funny, and I love that one of the top shows on television right now is about philosophy. Like, that's bonkers. That's amazing.
Rob, do you watch it?
I love that. Well, Elizabeth turned me on to it, and I love it. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of it, but I'll watch, first of all, anything Kristen Bell is in, but it is a really clever show.
Yeah. And
it's
Ted Danson's
really
great in it.
He's so great. Oh, my gosh.
The whole cast is great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep moving on here. Clay Woodley writes, really excited for Ad Astra. Do you think it can be as successful as movies like Gravity, Interstellar, and The Martian? Oh, can it be? Yes. Yeah, this isn't going to be a $900 million movie by any stretch of the imagination. But can it be? It's all going to be about word of mouth. But this thing can be like on that level. It can be very, very successful. Not in the $700-800 million range, nothing like that. It's not going to get up there. Not as a drama. Yeah. But It can be very successful. I think those are really good, like Martian, Gravity, Interstellar. I think those are good comparisons. I think it can get up there. I don't know if it will, but it can. So, the problem is, will it come across as maybe a little too heady for some of the general audience? I don't know, but there's certainly possibilities there. All right, Mr. Plinkett writes, thoughts on Between Two Ferns trailer? I liked it. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. I like it. It's just I'm not into everything that's outside of the Between Two Ferns concept, and there was some disagreement here about us on that, but there you go. Kevin Lewis writes, over under 60%. Robert Meyer Burnett has a DVD Blu-ray of Billy Jack. I'll straight up, I don't know the movie. I don't know the movie Billy Jack off the top of my head, so I'm gonna guess under. Rob,
I don't have. I think there's 4 Billy Jack movies. I don't have. It's sort of a vigilante, Native American vigilante thing. I don't own Billy Jack.
All right, so I guess the under. Slim Trav writes, what are you more hyped for, Bloodshot, Morbius, Birds of Prey? Right now, Bloodshot to me is still just conceptual, so not really that. And as of right now, I don't have a lot of excitement for Birds of Prey right now, so we'll see if that changes. But I am quite excited for Morbius, so for me, it's Morbius. What about you, Rob?
Morbius, I just can't believe they made a Morbius the Living Vampire movie.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Okay, Chris?
I want to like Morbius, but Jared Leto.
You're not a Jared Leto fan?
I'm not.
Oh, I really like him.
Have you ever seen Mr. Nobody?
No, I have
You've
not.
got to watch the director's cut of Mr. Nobody.
Okay. I'll
just
check
watch
that out.
that. Get the long version, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Amir B writes, my 10, Man on Fire. This is another time it's been mentioned today. Number 9, Saving Private Ryan. This is great. Number 8, Godfather. Number 7, The Dark Knight Trilogy. Number 6, Heat. Number 5, Social Network. Number 4, The Departed. Number 3, Memento. The 3 Toy Story movies. And then number 1, Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank Redemption's in my top 3. That's in my top 3.
That would be a weird movie marathon.
That
lineup.
That is an
love
odd
it.
Marathon. I can't see. There's no film on there that I don't. Here's the odd thing. I think the film on this list that I like the least, and I like them all. Them all. The film on this list that I probably like the least is probably Social Network. Mm-hmm. That's how strong your list is, Amir. And because I really like Social Network. Any films on there, Rob, that make your top 10?
The Godfather's my number 1 movie.
Obviously, yeah.
And I love Shawshank. That was a pretty good list. I mean, of these movies, though, there's a lot of movies I would go back, 30, 40, 50 years as well that are on my lists. Like All About Eve is one in my top 10 of all time.
All right, here. Mr. Pinkett writes, so it's Gretel and Hansel now, really? So dumb. Okay, so what that's referring to here is that I think it's not A24. I'm trying to remember who just did this. It might have been Annapurna, I'm not sure. But there's this new, very, in the style of The Witch, little horror movie coming out based on the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale, and it's called Gretel and Hansel. And if you watch the trailer...
He's so hot right now.
Hansel, so hot right now. One of the greatest comedies ever. Great reference there, Rob. If you watch the trailer, you get why they swap the names. If you watch the trailer, you get why, because this one's being told the main character is going to be the big sister who's trying to look after little brother, and just to differentiate it, instead of just being another thing called Hansel and Gretel, they switched around. They call it Gretel and Hansel. Mm-hmm. What I already know is going to happen, though, is there are going to be a bunch of very insecure men out there who are going to whine and complain that they switched it up. The reality is, if there was a remake today of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, for example, if there was a remake of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and they told it from a different perspective, and they wanted to take a different take on it, and as a result, the name of the movie, the name of the remake was going to be The Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy, nobody would have a problem with it. We'd all look and they go, oh, that's interesting. What does that mean? And we'd all approach it from that point. But because there's a female character involved with Hansel and Gretel, a bunch of people are going to go, oh, and you're going to get all upset and mad and have all this. But if it was Tango and Cash, if they were remaking Tango and Cash, but they told it from a different perspective and wanted to do a twist on it, do a different take on it, and as a result, and as part to differentiate, they reworded it and called it Cash and Tango, we'd all be going, oh, that's interesting. Why did they do that? Oh, that's kind of cool. That's what does that mean? But because they're doing it where one of the characters is a female character, a bunch of insecure people are going to lose their minds. And I just think it's kind of funny. So the trailer looks really spooky. And I mentioned The Witch. It really does feel like The Witch. Rob, have you had a chance to see this trailer yet?
No, and now I'm going to go, if it feels like The Witch, I'm into it.
And I believe the lead girl in it who's playing Gretel is the girl from It. The young version of the girl.
I love her.
Yeah, and she looks, I believe that's her. She looks really great in it. So anyway, there's that. Anyway, Kevin Lewis writes, a toast to any panelists that can sing the thing. I just mentioned Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I just mentioned it. A toast to any panelist that can sing the theme song to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Well, here's the funny thing. There's not really a theme song per se. Like that movie opens.
It's Burt Bacharach.
It's the no, because remember the movies with the little piano.
Isn't it Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head?
It's bum 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 bum. It's just the single old westerny piano thing. If I'm remembering it right,
I thought it's Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
It's in the movie, but but the opening. That's not the opening of it, is it?
Oh, he said theme. I've always thought that
okay,
Raindrops.
well maybe it's the Burt Bacharach. Maybe that's
Raindrops.
I guess it all depends on how you define it.
Okay.
What movie? There was another movie that was in. Oh, I can't remember now. Anyway, of course, Burt Bacharach, most famously known for being in the Austin Powers movie.
Yeah.
Yes, nice one. All right, Dropkick Aggie writes, that certainly illustrated the diversity of the word. Not quite sure what we're talking about.
Like the Bible? What?
Yeah, you gotta give us a little bit of context. Michael Bradley writes, always the bullet I don't understand. Name the movie. Hint, Werner Herzog. That's Jack Reacher. The only reason I know it's Jack Reacher is because there's not a lot of movies with Werner Herzog in it these days, and that he was the great villain in that, by the way. By the way, Jack Reacher, not Jack Reacher, Never Stop, Never Go Back Stopping,
Yeah.
but the first Jack Reacher, I actually thought was really good.
I liked it too. Chris McQuarrie.
Yeah, I thought that one was great. I was excited that they were doing a sequel. Sequel wasn't all that great, but I really do like the first one. Let's see. Eric Huffman writes, should more people take Tyler Perry seriously as a filmmaker? Should they? No, nobody deserves us to take them seriously. Like either we do take them seriously or we don't based on whether or not we like their films. Again, I like Tyler Perry very much, and I have a huge amount of respect for him. But I'm not going to lie, his movies have not been for me. They haven't worked for me, and that's fine. They have their audience. So do I owe it to Tyler Perry to take him more seriously as a filmmaker? No, I don't owe that to him at this point. But I respect him, and I think it's great that he's carved out a following for himself. And we've been through this all already. But I'm going to say no. We can't use the word should. Because if he doesn't make movies that you enjoy and that you like, then no, you don't need to respect him on that level. But I respect the work ethic, man. I really do. And I think he's a good guy. And I think he's one of the good people in this business. And I'm happy for his success. I really am. Disney Aviation Roller Coaster Enthusiast. It's a long name, writes, what is your most anticipated 2020 animated movie? I don't know. I can't even think about. I mean, look, we just saw at D23 a big presentation for Onward, which I got to tell you, that looks so good.
Yeah.
They showed us 8 minutes of the film, and I was not thrilled with the trailer, but after I saw the footage, I'm like, this looks really special. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know off the top of my head what the other animated films of I can't even remember if Soul is going to be 2020 or... No, yes, Soul is coming out later in 2020. I'm more looking forward to Onward, but I can't remember the other animated ones coming out, to be honest with you.
Raya and the Last Dragon.
Is that
That's
2020?
2020, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know what? I take it back. Raya and the Last Dragon, that's the one I'm most looking forward to. I forgot that was 2020.
Yeah.
Yes, that movie, bonkers looks good. Like, looks bonkers good. I'm so glad you brought... Rob, can you think of any other ones coming out?
No, I mean, those two, off the top of my head, that's all I could... I don't know how many animated movies are coming out in 2020. I don't know.
ton.
But I just can't think of them. Can you think of some others off the top of your head?
I think Wish Dragon is also coming out, which is a Jackie Chan animated film,
Really?
which seems like it's going to be very similar to Raya and the Last Dragon, just conceptually. And I'm trying to think of others.
Is that
are
like a
coming
never-ending
out.
story thing where he's a cousin of the Luck Dragon?
I have no idea.
That would be fun.
That'd be amazing.
Falcor's Family.
Falcor's Family. All right. It's the Falcor Cinematic Universe. Brandon York writes, now that you finally started watching Letterkenny, oh my God. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. I knew you'd love it. Are you going to have a super soft birthday party? Hashtag Ferda. Guys,
What the hell is this?
have you ever heard of Letterkenny?
It's so good.
No.
I had never heard of Letterkenny until yesterday.
Oh my God.
Somebody wrote in and talked about that. It's a Canadian show, but I've been out of Canada for a while, so I didn't know about the new stuff that's there. It's a Crave original. Crave is kind of like Canada's version of Hulu. And I have never heard of it. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Holy shit.
It's so funny.
It is, I'm like we use hyperbole a lot. I use hyperbole a lot. It is the funniest thing I've seen in ages. And it's just a couple of like Canadian redneck dudes. And it's like, it's Quentin Tarantino-esque in the fact that it's dialogue. Mm-hmm. It's just, the whole thing is dialogue. And I just watched, now I only watched like one 5-minute scene, and then I came, because somebody sent me, I said yesterday, I've never heard of this show. A bunch of people sent me some YouTube clips, and I watched like this one 5-minute scene, which I literally fell off the couch onto the floor laughing hysterically. And then this like this 7-minute montage of some of this one character's greatest lines. But I mean, one of the things is, algebra, why do you got to put letters and numbers together? Why can't you just fuck yourself? And it's just like, it's seriously some of the most funniest crap I have ever seen. And I cannot wait to just straight up, now yesterday was a busy day, so I didn't get to watch much more in these clips. I at some point today, I'm going to sit down and just watch the first episode. So you knew, Chris, what this thing was. I'd never even heard of it. What do you think of Letterkenny?
Oh my God, it's so funny. And I believe all of it's available on Hulu
It's
now,
on Hulu
too.
now, yes.
So, Rob, you should totally watch it as well. I think you'd really like it.
Letterkenny.
It's
Wow.
so funny. There's a great episode where they're all speed dating, too. And, it's such a good show. And the lines are just amazing. And everyone's delivery, too. Now that you've started watching it, some people have been campaigning for the main guy on there to be the next Wolverine. Because he's Canadian.
Really? Well, that's
And
true.
he's under, he's
a
under
big
6
dude.
feet, and he's ripped.
Yep, big dude. So, anyway, yeah, love that. Okay, let's just do a couple more here, guys, and then we'll wrap things up here in just a bit. Next up comes us from John Demoto writes, "Hello, John. Were you able to check out the new Bad Boys 3 trailer?" No, again, like we said, it just dropped. We haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'll watch it as soon as probably we're done the show. Ryan Lohner writes, "I love thinking of how the baby from Labyrinth, the son of Brian Froud, is now a producer on The Dark Crystal." I didn't know that. That's amazing.
That's really cool.
I did not know
Aw.
that. That's see, it's all connected. It's all connected. Thanks for throwing that in there. That's a nice little piece of trivia, Ryan. Ben Rayner writes, Tomb Raider 2 is a go according to Deadline, coming in September 2021. Yes, and obviously that was one of our off the top stories at the beginning of the show. Can't wait for that. I'm very excited that they're doing another one. Schuler Jeffress writes, Modern Family is coming to an end. Yes. What other TV show should come to an end? Grey's Anatomy, South Park, It's Always Sunny, etc. I don't watch a lot of TV, to be honest with you. I'll tell you what, though. Modern Family is some of the best writing I've seen in a television. No, for no reason, I stopped watching it about 3 years ago. Not because I got tired of it, not because I didn't like it anymore. I just don't have a lot of time for TV, and I kind of stopped watching it 3 years ago. It is a really sharp, intelligent, funny show. I don't know how it's been for the last 3 years. But I don't know. Like, I don't, like, again, if South Park is still funny for people, keep it going. If people still like watching Grey's Anatomy, keep it going. I don't really watch these things, a lot of these shows to know for sure. But Rob, do you have any show off the top of your head that you think just, this has got to end?
Yeah. Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. That's just getting started. Anyway, Chris.
God help us.
I mean, Modern Family for me has taken a dip in the last few years.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the last few
I'm
years,
happy
so.
that it's wrapping up. Grey's Anatomy, I stopped watching years ago, and I know they had a musical episode at one point, and I just, how are there still stories about those people?
Okay, just a couple quick more here, guys. Rachel Kane writes, Hi from England. Cineworld have the Friends list with talking about yesterday with the A-list car. Oh, I know what you're talking about. A-list card you have. So it can and is being done. All right. So what Rachel is talking about is on yesterday's show, and I can't remember if it was in it was during the companion video. A-list is fantastic. All right, it's the best thing to happen to movie fans in forever. Regal's Unlimited is also a very, very good plan. So what I was talking about yesterday, guys, was that the one way to make A-list better is this. When Ann and I, who both have our A-list, when we want to go to the movies, we have to sit in bed together, assuming it's late at night that we're doing it. Sit in bed together, okay, we're going to go see It tomorrow? Yeah, okay, we're going to go see It tomorrow. All right. All right, we both have to open up our apps at the same time, pick the theater and showtime we want, and then look at the theater seating chart and go, okay, I'm picking M23, you get M24. Okay, ready? Count it down. 3, 2, 1, purchase. Okay, we got our seats together. Right. Now, with A-List on your AMC app, if the three of us wanted to go to a movie, I could easily go on and say, I want to buy 3 tickets. And they'll say, would you like one of those tickets to be your free AMC A-List seat? I'll say, yes, I do, thank you. And then I just pay for the other 2 tickets. Then you guys can pay me back. But if you guys both have A-List, there's a problem. What A-List needs to do is have the ability to create a verified friends list. Where Ann, I can say, I want to add Ann Campea, here's her A-List number. And then it sends a confirmation email to Ann that says, John Campea would like to add you as a verified friend. Do you agree? Yes. So now when I order tickets, I can say, I order 2 tickets and I want to make both of them AMC A-List, mine and my friend Ann's.
Oh.
And there's no fear about abusing the system because, like, well, what if it's not? What if you're just getting Ann's ticket and you're really just bringing Chris? You can't do that because when you show up to the AMC theater, you got to show your ID. So it is something they need to do. So thank you so much, Rachel, for sending that in to letting us know that Cineworld already does that. It's a common sense thing. You should just do it. It just makes sense that they should do that. So do you guys see any other, well, let me ask you guys this. Do you see any other obvious thing that A-List or something like a Regal Unlimited canon should do to make their services better than they are right now?
I mean, I still need to get the service. I keep not doing it.
Yeah, you guys got to get
I keep
this.
not doing it.
I mean, can't speak to it. So
you said that we would pay you back for movie tickets. The internet just said you're a millionaire. We're not
That's
paying
right.
you anything.
I forgot about that. I forgot I'm a multimillionaire, so I should just be buying these tickets for everything.
Yeah.
All right. We're only going to take one last question right here today, guys. Then we're going to wrap it up for the day. But do not worry. If you guys have sent in questions that we don't have time to get to, do not worry. I'm going to do a companion video a little bit later and get to all of the rest of the questions that got sent in, and we will get to those. And well, I'll answer JB Bonifacio's writes, just saw Bad Boys for Life trailer, RIP Avatar 2. Yeah, well, I haven't seen the trailer yet myself, but I think that's probably getting out there. You know, I'm going to answer another Skywalker's because he sent in a huge super chat, but let me get to Juan's first here. Dragged Across Concrete, wow. Craig Zeller, who's this guy? Heard his other one with Vince Vaughn is great. Have you seen any?
Yeah.
Rob?
He did Bone Tomahawk, which I love.
Oh, that's right. With The Scene. Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Bone Tomahawk.
And then Brawl and Cell Block 99. Is that what it's called? Brawl and which I
Did
liked.
you do Cell Block?
Yeah, and then Dragged Across Concrete, which 50% over under. I own the Bluray. Yes.
100.
I have Bone Tomahawk and I have Dragged Across
1,000.
Concrete. I loved Dragged Across Concrete. It's 3 hours of joy and I with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn, and I loved it. But he's a really interesting filmmaker, and I'll roll out and see anything he makes.
All right. And the last question we're going to take today here comes to us from another Skywalker who sends in a huge super chat. Thank you, Skywalker, for that and for supporting the channel on that level. We're very grateful here. And he writes, I binged The Society on Netflix last weekend, and I really liked Toby Wallace's performance. As I watched, I kept thinking he looks a lot like Harrison Ford. I think he would be great in Star Wars, and Lucasfilm missed him when casting for Solo. Your thoughts? Well, first of all, I have not watched The Society. And have either of you guys watched it?
I watched the first episode.
And how was it?
It's intriguing, but it's about a town that gets cut off, and all the adults disappear when these kids are sent off. These high school kids are sent off on an overnight.
That's right.
And then they don't quite make it, and they come back, and their town is cut off from the world at large, and they have to form their own world, like their society. And the first episode was intriguing, but I had the feeling that, okay, we're never going to know why or how this happened. And I was like, do I want to go down that rabbit hole? But if they like the show, why not?
The one thing I'll say here, another Skywalker, is this. I never give two squirts of urine if an actor looks like something else. Like when they cast an actor to play Wolverine, I don't care if they look like Wolverine. I really don't. That's something I can get over pretty quick. Nobody thought Hugh Jackman looked right for Wolverine when they cast him. They make him look right for Wolverine, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So that to me is so far down, just to be honest with you, is so far down on my priority list on who you cast for a role. And I'll be straight up with you. I thought Alden Ehrenreich did a great job in Solo. I really do. Does he look the most like Harrison Ford? No. But to me, that's not the important thing. Do I think he captured the essence of Han Solo while giving his own version of it at the same time? I do. Like, Solo isn't the greatest movie in the world, but I thought it was a great, fun sci-fi adventure film. I think Alden Ehrenreich was wonderful in the role. I really do. And to me, that's all that really matters. If it's somebody that, oh, he looks like this guy, they should cast. To me, that is so far down on the priority list that it really doesn't even register for me. I don't know, Rob, could you have seen him playing that role?
You know, he didn't strike me that way, but I haven't watched the whole series yet. You know, again, like you, it depends. If an actor's good, they can play a lot of roles.
Right.
So I don't know. I would have to go back and watch the whole series, but because it's a huge ensemble cast. So one episode was introducing so many people. I don't know. I'm not qualified to comment on whether that person is the best actor to play him. I liked Alden Ehrenreich like you did.
It's got that girl, too, who was in Pokemon, Detective Pikachu and Supernatural.
Yep.
And I really like her, so that makes me want to check it out more, especially if somebody is saying they really enjoy it.
Chris, for you, though, let's say you've got a movie coming out that's got an iconic character, whether it's a character who's already been on the big screen or comes from a comic book or comes from whatever. How high on the priority list should be when considering casting this person kind of looks like that? Is that important? Is it not important? At what point should it come into play?
I feel like it's not as important because, you've got a hair and makeup team that's going to come in and help, create the rest of that product. The artistry is what should be most important, right? The performance. From an acting standpoint, this is so base, but it's so annoying when you go into an audition and it's things like, well, we need you to wear glasses because the character wears glasses. You can't imagine me wearing, or you need to be sure you're in a full 3-piece suit. I had to do this the other day right after I left the show here. I was like, it's 100 degrees out. And I'm going to, okay, all right, because they couldn't imagine me not in a suit. I feel like the look doesn't really ultimately matter that much. That being said, I've gone on rants here about The Witcher and how I don't think, Henry Cavill is dirty enough to play Geralt. But I feel like when it comes to Solo, the performance is really what needed to matter. You needed to capture Harrison Ford's swagger more than, his nose.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that's how I see it at any rate. And so, again, not to say that Toby Wallace couldn't have been a good Solo. It's just not to say that at all. And would I have been okay if they cast him? Sure. But in a world where they did cast somebody, and I think that somebody did a great job, do I think they made a mistake casting Alden Ehrenreich? No. I think they made a mistake making the movie at all. Like, because nobody wanted a Harrison Ford-less Han Solo movie. But if they were going to make it, I think they did as good as you could ask them to do it. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, that's just how I kind of see it, another Skywalker. But a lot of other people, they do put that. How much does he look like what we're expecting? A lot of other people have that higher in the priority list than I do. So I can only speak from my personal point of view, which is it's not really an important consideration. I mean, look, all other things being equal, if all the other higher priorities are totally equal between this person, and it's all tied, and then you get down to look and you think, well, one person looks a little bit more like the part, well, then yeah, all other things being equal, then go with the one that looks the part. But that's a little bit further down the list for me, but it's a fascinating question. Thank you. I think you're the first person to bring up the society here on the show. So thank you for that, Skywalker. And again, thank you for the super chat and supporting the channel on that level, man. Really appreciate it. Nick, who is just saying Bad Boys for Life trailer dropped. Yep, we're familiar with that. And so everybody else from Hideaway Killer, Nick, FM Sorcerer, and everybody else all the way down the list, do not worry. Your questions are going to get answered in a companion video a little bit later this afternoon. Keep your eyes open for that. And And that will do it, guys, for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to thank the people who've been here and made this show possible with me. First of all, the one and the only, the master of
fun and wonder.
Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, or its adjacent website, theburnettwork.net.
And of course, Chris Carr has been here bringing you a bag of jelly dicks, apparently. I can't imagine that. Anyway, Chris, where can people find you, and how does Kevin Feige make sure he doesn't get those in the mail?
Everyone's getting for Christmas, no matter what. You can find me online at actor Chris Carr, or you can find my videos over on Nerdwire on YouTube.
And guys, you can, of course, follow me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, simply there at John Campea. Thank you guys so much for being here and making this show part of your day and making the film fan community such a fun place to be. Thank you to all you guys who sent in the Super Chat questions, because you gave us great fun things to talk about, and you supported the channel along the way as well. That will do it for me, guys. Don't forget, we'll be back with the John Campea Show again tomorrow. Companion video a little bit later today. Always new stuff coming here on the channel. So my name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.